A poor housemaid and a wealthy family. Their worlds were completely different. Their lives were miles apart, but one act of courage brought them together in a way no one could have imagined. When a rich businessman discovered who his housemaid really was, what happened next left everyone speechless. Sit back, relax, and find out as we delve into this emotional story. In the heart of Lagos, Nigeria, there stood a beautiful mansion. The mansion belonged to Chief Duro J, a very wealthy businessman. People respected him. They feared him too. His voice was deep and commanding. When he spoke, everyone listened. His wife, Madame Ronk, was a proud woman. She wore expensive clothes and gold jewelry that shined in the sunlight. She walked with her head high, looking down at people she considered beneath her. They had a daughter named Tenny, a sweet little girl of 7 years old. Tenny had big brown eyes and a soft smile, but she was often sick. Her body was weak, and she needed constant care. The family also had many workers in the house: cooks, drivers, gardeners, and housemaids. Among all these workers was a young girl named Chioma. She was 19 years old, quiet, and very humble. Her clothes were old and faded. Her shoes had holes in them, but her eyes carried something gentle, something pure. Chioma did not talk much. She worked silently, cleaning floors, washing plates, folding clothes. The other workers sometimes laughed at her because she never complained. Even when Madame Ronk shouted at her for the smallest mistakes. "You are too slow," Madame Ronk would say sharply. "Why did I even hire you?" Chioma would just bow her head and whisper, "Sorry, Ma." She never fought back. She never raised her voice. Only one person in the house treated her differently. That person was Mama Duro J, the old grandmother of the family. Mama Duro J was 78 years old. Her hair was completely white. Her back was bent from age, but her eyes were sharp and wise. She watched Chioma closely. She saw how kind the girl was, how patient, how hardworking. One afternoon, Mama Duro J called Chioma to her room. "Come, my child," she said softly. Chioma entered slowly, her hands folded in front of her. "Yes, Mama." Mama Duro J studied her face for a long moment. "Where are you from, Chioma? Who are your people?" Chioma's face became sad. She looked down at her feet. "I don't know, Mama. I don't remember much." Mama Duro J tilted her head. "You don't remember?" Chioma shook her head. "I only remember waking up in a hospital many years ago. I was very young. The nurses said I was found on the street. After that, a woman took me in and raised me, but she died 2 years ago. Since then, I have been working to survive." Mama Duro J's heart softened. She reached out and touched Chioma's hand gently. "You have suffered, my child, but you have a good heart. Do not let this family break your spirit." Chioma smiled a little. "Thank you, Mama." From that day, Mama Duro J watched over Chioma like a mother hen protecting her chick. Life in the mansion continued. Days turned into weeks. Chioma woke up early every morning, before the sun rose. She swept the floors. She washed the windows. She prepared breakfast. Madame Ronk always found something to complain about. "This tea is too hot," she would say, pushing the cup away. "You are useless." Chief Duro J rarely spoke to Chioma at all. To him, she was just another worker, someone invisible, someone unimportant. But little Tenny was different. Sometimes, when no one was watching, Tenny would smile at Chioma. "You are nice," Tenny said one day in her small voice. Chioma knelt beside her and smiled back. "Thank you, Tenny. You are a very sweet girl." Tenny giggled softly. "Mama says I should not talk to the workers, but I like you." Chioma's heart warmed. She gently touched Tenny's cheek. "You can talk to me anytime you want." Madame Ronk saw this from across the room. Her face twisted with anger. "Tenny, come here now," she called sharply. Tenny ran to her mother quickly. Madame Ronk grabbed her hand and pulled her away. She glared at Chioma. "Do not get too comfortable with my daughter. You are just a maid. Know your place." Chioma bowed her head. "Yes, Ma," but inside, her heart felt heavy. She did not understand why people treated her so badly just because she was poor. One evening, as the sun was setting, dark clouds gathered in the sky. The wind began to blow strongly. Rain started to fall, heavy and fast. Thunder roared loudly. Lightning flashed across the sky. Inside the mansion, the lights flickered. Then suddenly, everything went dark. The power was gone. Madame Ronk screamed. "What is this? Chief, do something." Chief Jiro-J called for the gateman. "Go check the generator." The workers scrambled around with flashlights and candles. In all the confusion, no one noticed that little Tenny had wandered outside. She had been playing near the window when the lights went out. She became scared and ran toward the gate, looking for her father. The rain was pouring down so hard that she could barely see. Her small feet slipped on the wet ground. She stumbled and fell near the drainage outside the compound. The water in the drainage was rising fast, flowing like a river. Tenny tried to stand up, but her foot got caught between two stones. She cried out, "Daddy, Mama," but the sound of the rain and thunder swallowed her voice. Inside the house, Chioma was lighting candles in the hallway. Suddenly, she heard something faint, a small cry. She paused and listened carefully. There it was again, a child's voice. Her heart jumped. "Tenny," she whispered. Without thinking twice, Chioma grabbed a flashlight and ran toward the door. "Where are you going?" one of the cooks shouted. But Chioma did not stop. She pushed the gate open and stepped into the storm. The rain soaked her clothes immediately. The wind was so strong it almost knocked her down. She shined the flashlight around, searching. "Tenny, Tenny, where are you?" Then she saw her. Tenny was near the drainage, half submerged in the rushing water. Her small body was shaking. Her face was full of fear. Chioma's blood ran cold. "Tenny." She ran toward her, her feet splashing through the muddy water. The current was strong. The water was rising fast. Chioma jumped into the drainage without hesitation. The cold water hit her like a wall. She gasped but kept moving. She grabbed Tenny's arm and pulled, but the child's foot was stuck tightly. "Hold on, Tenny. Hold on to me," Chioma said, her voice shaking. Tenny wrapped her arms around Chioma's neck, crying, "I'm scared. I'm scared." Chioma pulled harder, her muscles screaming with pain. The water was pulling them both down. Her lungs burned. Her vision blurred. But she did not let go. Finally, with one last pull, Tenny's foot came free. Chioma lifted her up and struggled toward the edge. Her legs felt weak. Her body was shaking. But she kept moving, step by step, until she climbed out of the water and collapsed on the ground. Tenny still in her arms. Both of them were soaking wet, coughing, gasping for air. But they were alive. By the time Chief Jiro-J and the others came outside, they found Chioma lying on the ground with Tenny in her arms. Madame Ronk screamed and ran toward them. "Tenny, my baby." She scooped Tenny up and held her tightly, tears streaming down her face. Chief Jiro-J knelt beside Chioma. His face was filled with shock. You saved her." Chioma could barely speak. She nodded weakly. The other workers came running with blankets and towels. They wrapped Tenny and Chioma in them and carried them inside. The doctor was called immediately. He came quickly and examined both of them. Tenny was shaken but unharmed. Chioma, however, was exhausted and cold. Her body was shivering uncontrollably. The doctor gave her medicine and told her to rest. She risked her life, the doctor said to Chief Jiro-J. If she had waited even one more minute, your daughter would have drowned. Chief Jiro-J looked at Chioma lying on the bed, her eyes half closed. His chest tightened. For the first time, he truly saw her, not as a maid, not as a poor girl, but as a human being, a brave one. The next morning, the whole mansion was talking about what happened. The workers whispered among themselves, "Did you see what Chioma did? She jumped into that water without thinking. She could have died." Madame Ronk sat in the living room, holding Tenny close. Her face was pale. She kept thinking about how she had treated Chioma. All the insults, all the harsh words. And yet, this girl had risked her life to save her daughter. Chief Jiro-J called a meeting in the living room. All the workers gathered. Chioma stood at the back, still looking weak. Chief Jiro-J cleared his throat. "I want everyone to know," he began, his voice strong, "that Chioma saved my daughter's life last night. She showed courage that many people do not have. From today, she will be promoted. She will no longer work as a housemaid. She will be Tenny's personal caretaker." Everyone clapped. Some workers smiled at Chioma, but Chioma looked uncomfortable. She did not smile. She did not feel happy. Instead, she looked scared. Madame Ronk noticed this. She frowned. Why does she look so worried? She whispered to herself. Later that evening, Madame Ronk went to Chioma's small room. She knocked softly. Chioma, can I come in? Chioma opened the door slowly. Yes, Ma. Madame Ronk stepped inside. She looked around the tiny room. A small bed. A wooden box for clothes. Nothing else. She felt a sharp pain in her chest. Chioma, she said quietly, I want to thank you for saving Tenny. Chioma bowed her head. It was the right thing to do, Ma. Madame Ronk studied her face. But I want to ask you something. Why did you do it? Tenny is not your family. I have not been kind to you. So why did you risk your life? Chioma looked up, her eyes gentle but sad. Because, Ma, every life is precious. It does not matter if someone is rich or poor. If I see someone in danger, I will help. That is who I am. Madame Ronk felt tears fill her eyes. She reached out and held Chioma's hand. I am sorry, she whispered. I am so sorry for how I treated you. Chioma squeezed her hand gently. It is okay, Ma. But as Madame Ronk left the room, a question remained in her heart. Who is this girl really? A few days later, Chioma was helping Tenny change into her night clothes. Tenny giggled as Chioma tickled her gently. You are my hero, Sister Chioma, Tenny said with a big smile. Chioma smiled back. And you are my sweet little princess. Mama Jirojay entered the room slowly, leaning on her walking stick. Let me help you, Chioma, she said kindly. Chioma nodded. Thank you, Mama. As Chioma removed her wet jacket from earlier, Mama Jirojay noticed something on her wrist. A small, old bracelet. It was faded and worn, but there was a symbol on it. A unique symbol. Mama Jirojay froze. Her eyes widened. Her mouth opened slightly. Where did you get that bracelet? She asked, her voice shaking. Chioma looked down at her wrist. This? I don't know, Mama. I have had it since I was very young. The nurses at the hospital said I was wearing it when they found me. Mama Jirojay's hand trembled. She reached out and held Chioma's wrist gently, staring at the bracelet. Her heart was beating fast. Do you know what this symbol means? She asked. Chioma shook her head. No, Mama. Mama Jirojay took a deep breath. This symbol, it belongs to the Duru family, a very powerful and wealthy family from Enugu. They lost their daughter in a fire accident 15 years ago. Everyone believed she died, but her body was never found. Chioma's eyes widened. What are you saying, Mama? Mama Jirojay looked at her with tears in her eyes. I think, my child, that you might be that daughter. The room fell completely silent. Even Tenny stopped smiling. Chioma's hands began to shake. No, Mama, that cannot be true. I am just a poor girl. Mama Jirojay shook her head slowly. We need to find out the truth. The next morning, Mama Jirojay spoke to Chief Jirojay in private. She showed him the bracelet and explained everything. Chief Jirojay listened carefully, his face serious. If what you are saying is true, he said slowly, then we must contact the Duru family immediately. Mama Jirojay nodded. Yes, but we must be careful. We do not want to give them false hope. Chief Jirojay made a phone call. He spoke to someone he knew in Enugu, someone connected to the Duru family. 2 days later, a car arrived at the mansion. Out stepped Mr. and Mrs. Duru. Mr. Duru was a tall man with gray hair. His face looked tired, as if he had not slept well in years. Mrs. Duru was a beautiful woman, but her eyes carried deep sadness. They were brought into the living room. Chioma was asked to come downstairs. When she entered the room, Mrs. Duru gasped. Her hand flew to her mouth. Amarachi, she whispered. Chioma looked confused. My name is Chioma, Ma. But Mrs. Duru stood up slowly, tears streaming down her face. No, you are Amarachi, my daughter, my baby. She walked toward Chioma, trembling. She reached out and touched Chioma's face gently. You have your father's nose, your grandmother's eyes, and this. She lifted Chioma's wrist and showed the bracelet. This bracelet was given to you by your grandfather on the day you were born. It has our family crest on it. Chioma's legs felt weak. She could not breathe. I don't understand. Mr. Duru stepped forward. his voice breaking. 15 years ago, our house caught fire. We tried to save you, but the flames were too strong. When we escaped, you were gone. We searched everywhere. We thought you were dead," Mrs. Duru sobbed. "But you are alive. You are alive, my daughter." Chioma's eyes filled with tears. Her whole life, she had felt lost, alone, unwanted, and now, standing in front of her were two people who had been searching for her for 15 years. "Mama," she whispered, her voice cracking. Mrs. Duru pulled her into a tight embrace. "Yes, my child. Yes, I am your mama." Chief Duro J, Madam Ronk, Mama Duro J, and Tenny stood watching. Tears filled everyone's eyes. Even Chief Duro J, who was always strong and serious, wiped his face. For the next few days, the mansion was filled with emotion. Mr. and Mrs. Duru stayed to spend time with Chioma. They told her stories about her childhood. They showed her pictures. They held her hands and cried tears of joy. Chioma listened quietly, trying to remember, but most of it felt like a dream. "I always wondered why I felt so empty inside," she said softly one evening. "Now I know. I was missing you." Mrs. Duru kissed her forehead. "You will never be alone again, my daughter." But even as Chioma found her true family, she did not forget the people in the mansion. She went to Madam Ronk one afternoon. Madam Ronk was sitting in her room, staring out the window. When she saw Chioma, she stood up quickly. "Chioma, Emirachi, Her voice broke. "I am so sorry. I treated you so badly. I insulted you. I made you feel small. And all this time, you were." Chioma walked closer and took her hands. "Madam Ronk, you did not know. And even if you did, it would not have mattered. I forgive you." Madam Ronk broke down in tears. "You are a better person than I will ever be." Chioma smiled gently. "You are a good mother. You love Tenny. That is what matters." Madam Ronk hugged her tightly. "Thank you. Thank you so much." Chief Duro J also came to Chioma. He stood before her with his head slightly bowed. "I judged you based on what I saw on the outside," he said quietly. "I thought because you were poor, you were not important. But you taught me that true wealth is not in money. It is in the heart." Chioma nodded. "We all make mistakes, sir. What matters is that we learn from them." Chief Duro J smiled. "You are wise beyond your years." A few days later, Mr. and Mrs. Duru prepared to take Chioma back to Enugu. But before they left, Chioma asked for one thing. "Please," she said to her parents, "let me stay here a little longer. I want to continue taking care of Tenny. She needs me." Mrs. Duru looked at Chief Duro J. "Is that all right with you?" Chief Duro J nodded. "We would be honored." So Chioma stayed. But now everything was different. She was no longer treated as a maid. She was treated as family. Chief Duro J enrolled her in a school. He paid for her education. He bought her new clothes, new shoes, everything she needed. Tenny was overjoyed. "You are my big sister now," she said, hugging Chioma tightly. Chioma laughed. "Yes, I am. And I will always take care of you." Mama Duro J sat in her chair, watching them with a warm smile. "God works in mysterious ways," she said softly. One Sunday afternoon, the whole family gathered in the living room. Mr. and Mrs. Duru had come to visit. They all sat together, talking and laughing. Tenny played on the floor with her toys. Chioma sat beside her, helping her build a tower. Chief Duro J stood up and raised his glass. "I want to make a toast," he said. Everyone turned to him. "To Chioma," he continued, "or Amarachi, as her true name is. She came into our lives as a poor housemaid, but she taught us the greatest lesson we could ever learn. She taught us that kindness has no price, that courage has no title, and that love sees no status. Because of her, my daughter is alive. Because of her, this family has changed. We will never be the same again." Everyone clapped. Chioma's eyes filled with tears, but this time they were tears of joy. Madam Ronk stood up and added, "And we will never forget that the person we looked down on became the person who saved us." Mr. Duru nodded. "My daughter may have lost her memory, but she never lost her heart. That is what makes her truly special." Mrs. Duru wiped her eyes. "I thank God every day that she is alive, and I thank this family for taking care of her when we could not." Mama Duro J tapped her walking stick on the floor. Let this be a lesson to all of us. Never, ever look down on anyone. You never know who they really are. You never know what God has planned." The room fell silent for a moment. Then Tenny's small voice broke the silence. "I love you, Sister Chioma." Chioma smiled and hugged her. "I love you too, Tenny." Chief Jiro J also decided to do something more. He went to the authorities and reported the woman who had mistreated Chioma. After she lost her memory, he made sure justice was done. He also used his connections to help other orphans and street children in Lagos. "If Chioma had not been brave," he said, "I would never have learned this lesson. Now I want to help others like her." And so, the mansion that was once filled with pride and coldness became a place of warmth and love. Chioma continued to live there, attending school and taking care of Tenny. On weekends, she visited her parents in Enugu. Her life, which had been broken and painful, was slowly being put back together. Weeks passed and Chioma settled into her new life. Every morning, she woke up in a proper bed with soft sheets. She wore clean clothes that fit her well. She went to school with other children her age. But what made her happiest was not the comfort or the nice things. It was the love, the feeling of belonging. One day at school, Chioma met a girl named Blessing. Blessing was quiet and shy, just like Chioma used to be. During lunch break, Chioma noticed Blessing sitting alone under a tree. She had no lunch. Her uniform was torn at the edges. Chioma walked over and sat beside her. "Hello," Chioma said softly. Blessing looked up, surprised. "Hello." Chioma opened her lunch box. Inside was rice, chicken, and plantain. She divided it into two and gave half to Blessing. "Here, let us eat together." Blessing's eyes widened. "But this is your food." Chioma smiled. "And now it is our food. Come, eat." Blessing took the food slowly, tears filling her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. From that day, they became friends. Chioma learned that Blessing was an orphan too. She lived with her aunt who treated her badly. Chioma's heart ached. She remembered how that felt. That evening, Chioma told Chief Jiro J about Blessing. "Sir, there's a girl in my school. She has no one. Her aunt mistreats her. Can we help her?" Chief Jiro J looked at Chioma for a long moment. Then he smiled. "You have suffered, and now you want to help others who suffer. That is the mark of a true leader." He made arrangements. He spoke to Blessing's aunt and offered to pay for Blessing's education, food, and clothes. The aunt, who saw Blessing only as a burden, agreed immediately. From that day, Blessing's life changed too. She became like a younger sister to Chioma. The two girls studied together, laughed together, and grew together. Madame Ronk watched all of this with amazement. One evening, she sat with Chioma in the garden. "You know," Madame Ronk said gently, "I used to think that being rich meant you were better than others. But you have shown me that real greatness has nothing to do with money. Real greatness is in how you treat people." Chioma took her hand. "You are learning, Ma. And that is beautiful." Madame Ronk smiled, tears in her eyes. "You are teaching all of us." Meanwhile, Mr. and Mrs. Duru visited often. Each time they came, they brought more stories about Amarachi's childhood. They showed her videos, old letters, and family albums. Slowly, piece by piece, Chioma began to remember small things. A song her mother used to sing, the smell of her father's cologne, the way her grandmother laughed. One night, Chioma had a dream. In the dream, she was a little girl again, running through a big house. She heard her mother's voice calling, "Amarachi, come for dinner." She saw her father lifting her high in the air. She felt safe, loved, complete. When she woke up, tears were running down her face. But they were not sad tears. They were healing tears. She whispered into the darkness, "I remember. I remember who I am." The next morning, she told her parents. Mrs. Duru cried and held her close. "Your memory is coming back. God is restoring everything the fire took from you." Mr. Duru nodded. "You are not just our daughter. You are our miracle." As the months went by, Chioma's life continued to blossom. She excelled in school. She became a leader among her classmates. She started a small group to help other students who were struggling, whether with schoolwork or personal problems. Teachers noticed her kindness. They praised her character. One of her teachers, Mrs. Adayami, pulled her aside one day. Chioma, she said, you have something rare. You have suffered, but instead of becoming bitter, you became better. That is a gift. Chioma smiled humbly. I only do what I wish someone had done for me. Mrs. Adeyemi nodded. That is exactly what makes you special. Back at the mansion, Tenny was growing stronger too. With Chioma's constant care and encouragement, her health improved. She laughed more. She played more. She became more confident. One afternoon, Tenny said to her mother, Mama, when I grow up, I want to be like Sister Chioma. Madame Ronk smiled through tears. That is a wonderful goal, my daughter. Chief Jiroje overheard this conversation. He walked into the room and knelt beside Tenny. Do you know why you wanted to be like Chioma? He asked. Tenny nodded. Because she is kind. She is brave. And she makes everyone feel loved. Chief Jiroje looked at Chioma, who was standing nearby. Yes, he said softly. Those are the best things anyone can be. That evening, the whole family sat together for dinner. It was a Friday, and Mr. and Mrs. Duru had come from Enugu to spend the weekend. The table was full of food, laughter, and stories. Mama Jiroje looked around the table and smiled. You know, she said, this table used to be so quiet, so cold, but now it is full of life. Chief Jiroje nodded. Because we learned to see with our hearts, not just our eyes. Mr. Duru raised his glass. 2 second chances, to family, to the girl who was lost and is now found. Everyone raised their glasses. To Chioma, to Amarachi. Chioma looked around at all the faces. Faces that loved her. Faces that valued her. Faces that saw her not as a poor maid, but as a precious daughter, sister, and friend. Her heart was full. After dinner, Chioma and Mama Jiroje sat together on the veranda. The night was cool. The stars were bright. Mama, Chioma said softly, do you think God planned all of this? Mama Jiroje smiled. I do not think, my child, I know. God allowed you to suffer so you would understand suffering. He allowed you to be lost so you would know how to find others who are lost. And He brought you here, to this family, so we could all learn what really matters in life. Chioma rested her head on Mama's shoulder. I am grateful for everything, even the pain, because it made me who I am. Mama Jiroje kissed her forehead. And who you are is exactly who the world needs. One evening, as the sun set over Lagos, Chioma stood on the balcony of the mansion. The sky was orange and pink. The air was cool. She closed her eyes and whispered a prayer. Thank you, God, for keeping me alive. Thank you for bringing me home. Behind her, she heard footsteps. It was Mama Jiroje. Are you happy, my child? She asked. Chioma turned and smiled. Yes, Mama. For the first time in my life, I am truly happy. Mama Jiroje nodded. You deserve it. You have a good heart. Never let the world change that. Chioma hugged her. I won't, Mama, I promise. In life, blessings come from the most unexpected places. Chioma had nothing. No name, no family, no money. But she had something far more valuable. She had a kind heart, and that kindness not only saved a child's life, it also revealed her true identity and changed an entire family forever. This story teaches us that we must never judge people by their appearance or their situation. The person you ignore today might be the person God uses to bless you tomorrow. The person you look down on might be the one who saves your life. Kindness is not weakness. Humility is not foolishness. And love, true love, sees beyond status, beyond money, beyond titles. So tell me, what did you learn from this story? Share your thoughts in the comment section. I would love to read from you. Another very interesting story will be uploaded in a few days. So subscribe to the channel and turn on your notification bell so you will be notified immediately. I upload the next story. If you enjoyed this one, don't forget to like this video and share it with your friends so others can also learn from it. Thank you so much for watching. God bless you.